You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love.
All right, Ed, why don't you roll it off here?
Well, bonjour, hola, good morning, konnichiwa, and hello. And this is the Skateboarding Bros Show. And the reason I mentioned that is I want you guys to put comments in if you're watching this somewhere around the planet that's not the United States, because we're kind of Southeast centric, but global in the stoke and the feel that we have. And we're really excited tonight because we got Mark Lake and Dave Bamdas. And I mean, I'm so stoked that we could get you guys and that you, whatever the scheduling issue was, allowed me to go, holy shit. Why didn't we have these guys on before? You know, and I got to meet you in St. Pete at the Hall of Fame induction, and I was like, this guy's just so positive. You know, it was really a pleasure, and I'm glad you could join us tonight.
Hey, before we get started, before we get started, we all got to wish Edgar a happy birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday!
Celebrating another trip around the planet.
Yeah.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. 700.
Happy B-Day.
Ed is so popular. I've got 2 Ed Wombles on my Facebook. I don't know which one. I'm just schizophrenic Ed, so I got 2 of them. I wish happy birthday to both of them.
Well, I appreciate that. And 730 more days. That will do it.
For what?
Oh, that's when I hit 65.
Oh, you're just a kid, Florida.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I still have my original hips, though. You're the one. You and Robbie Weir are the fake hip people. So,
hey, new improved hips.
Good.
What's that?
Robbie's skating really good with those hips.
Yeah, and he said he got an inch and a half taller.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep.
Mark
and I skated with him a couple weeks ago in where was Hialeah?
Hialeah, yeah.
He was ripping.
Hey, for all you people out there in the world that you're getting older and you've skateboarded your body to disintegrate, there's solutions out there that are really cool. That a couple of pain pills and some time with a whatever, you're fine. So, and I am on medication tonight, so nothing I say should be remembered. Okay.
Bill, the superstar.
Tell me more about those pain pills. I'm always. Yeah.
Well, if you take the whole bottle and go like that, it really goes to work fast. So it's good.
Right.
So I thought I would try to keep it chronologic, and of course it won't be, but we would start kind of in the mid late 70s.
The long pants era, the Mark Lake and the long pants era.
Oh man, yeah. I didn't wear shorts until I did my first flight ad, and they told me I had to wear shorts for the ad. And so I did it. I got rid of the long pants and went to shorts.
Long pants.
My first flight ad.
So was it IHB or was it Flight? Who was first?
No, IHB is the skate park.
But did they ever like sponsor you or anything like
The
that?
skate park?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it was sponsored by the local park, and that's where I got picked up by Flight Skateboards, was at IHB. They had a surf and skate expo at the Melbourne Auditorium. And all these Sundancer, Flight Skateboards, Sims, there was a bunch of companies that came to our local park. And quite a few of them seen me skate. And I got like 4 or 5 offers from different companies.
Wow.
I had a couple West Coast, but I ended up going with Flight Skateboards because it was 2 brothers and they skated and they just had a really cool crew, and I went with the vibe.
IHB, man. They came out there and saw you skating that place.
Who was behind Flight? They were everywhere.
It was Steve and David Dura, brothers.
Okay.
Yep, from Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode Island. And then you had Sid, who owned Water Brothers, and he had a half pipe behind his surf shop up there.
Sid Abruzzi.
Yeah, Sid, yeah.
The package.
Yeah. Yeah, so when they sponsored me, I actually, a couple months later, I went up to Rhode Island, and I stayed up there for almost the entire summer and did demos all over Massachusetts, Connecticut, and in Rhode Island. And it was a great scene. And we hung out at Water Brothers Surf Shop pretty much every day.
Well,
What year
This
was
little
what year
8
was
foot
this?
wide, no flat bottom half pipe.
What year were you doing these?
That was 78.
Oh, early. Yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's when we first ran in. I first saw you was at the basin, and you were already wearing the blue and yellow flight.
Yep.
And we've got a little picture from the archives. We've got a couple seconds of video of you skating the snake run, which I think you'll enjoy.
Nice.
So
Eddie, you're going to be able to put this stuff on the screen.
okay.
So Mark, tell us about the Smithsonian board. That was a flight, right?
The what now?
Smithsonian board.
Oh, how my board ended up in there?
Yeah, is that a flight board or is that a lake
Well,
board?
they actually have a flight board, and they've got a Nightmare.
And of course they do.
Yeah, and then they got a complete airhead, which it was at the 80s all day contest they had in Orlando, 2011, I think it was.
Right.
And I skated in that event, and Smithsonian sent a couple curators to get Tony Hawk's board. It was going to be, I guess, the first board in the Smithsonian. And after the event got over, I was 54 in that event and still doing my flips and flipped over tuck knees and stuff. And when I got done skating, I was walking off the ramp and someone taps me on the shoulder. I turn it around and it's the guy and a girl, and they go, "We're from the Smithsonian of American History. You're 54 years old. You're up there doing flips." They're like, that's amazing. And you've been doing this for like 45 years. And I'm like, yeah. And they just they go, "Can we have your board, your shoes, and your helmet?" And I said, yeah. And I gave it to him, and I didn't realize what a big deal it was until I called my dad and said, "Hey, Dad, these people from the Smithsonian took my board, my helmet, and my shoes." And he's like, "Holy shit, are you kidding me? Do you know how big that is?" And I'm like, "No, but I gave it to him."
That's amazing.
Awesome.
So about
Yeah, and
that,
I got to take him up there. He was 85, and I actually got to take my dad up there, and we got to spend some time and
That's
check it all out. And
That's way
it was
cool.
crazy because you walk. It was on the 4th floor where they stored all the sports stuff.
Yeah.
And I walked in there, and they got the glass cases. You look through the glass and look in there, and I could see my board, my shoes, and my helmet. And right next is this hat over there, and I noticed that it was Richard Petty's hat was sitting on a shelf next to that.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then there was these hockey helmets. Uh-oh. Did we lose you?
you're fine.
That's all right. That's doing his thing.
Okay.
Go
So,
ahead.
yeah.
Hockey helmets.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of hockey helmets there, and they said those were the helmets from when the U.S. beat Russia, I guess in like 1974.
Oh, the
or
Miracle
something
on
like
Ice. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
76
yeah.
76 Olympic.
And,
yeah.
and then they had a set of golf clubs there that were Tiger Woods, and I'm just looking around going, "Really? My stuff's with these guys? Are you serious?"
Wow.
awesome.
Very-
So it was
That's
really
a
it was-
hooyah. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah, it was cool. And when they pulled out the boards, they made us put on white gloves. You're not allowed to touch the boards without white gloves, and it was crazy. So
Wow.
Very
That's
cool.
fantastic.
Oh, congratulations
Yeah.
on that one. That's a
and it
big
was
deal.
for me, it was just a matter of being at the right place at the right time, I guess. You know, that if I didn't skate in that event, I probably would not be in the Smithsonian.
Well, it's
You
like
know?
Oh,
you
shit,
got to
hold on.
participate if you want to keep growing. So out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
all you people that don't participate, get off your butts and participate.
Yeah. Show up. Things happen.
There it is. There's the long pants.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah,
look
look
at
at that.
Yeah.
Hockey elbow pads.
Yeah. And
So what do you
I
think
have
that- Mark, what do you
that
think that
board-
board is?
that board I have hanging on the wall behind me, and I made that board in a cabinet shop. It's solid 3/4 inch thick wood. And that was before they bent them, and it had a wedge tail, and it's like 5.5 inches wide.
So those Bennett hijackers, what are the trucks you think?
Back then it was Tracker.
Tracker and then
Yeah.
Road Riders? Looks like Road Riders on there.
Yeah, I was riding some sort of Sims wheels.
Sims. Okay, Sims comps.
Sims
probably.
comps, I believe. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So about this time, Dave is learning how to do a frontside kick turn, or
Right. Well, what year is this now, Mark?
That right there, that's actually earlier. This is probably 77.
Yeah, that's about
The long pants. Yeah, it's like 77 going right into 78.
Mark's Mark, you're about 8 years older than I am. You're what, 60?
I'm 65. I'll be 66 this December.
Right.
Wow.
I'm 58. I'm 58.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm probably learning to do frontside kick turns then.
So
I'm still 15.
if you take a look at that ramp, the middle picture on the bottom, you can see right below the H, there's a fucking hole in the ramp.
Yeah,
Just a crack.
that's from my landings on my backflips. There's a
Exactly.
few times where my back wheels went right through the ramp.
I can't, and everyone's up there skating this thing. I could not fucking believe it. The one time I skated here, I was like, there's a fucking hole in the ramp. Are you?
Oh yeah, we skated around the holes all the time.
Just
Or
okay.
through them.
Just,
This kind of reminds me of Grigley's ramp, right? You could only skate in a certain area of the ramp. You know, you had to stay on the stable part, not the part that was barely held up. But it does occur to me, Mark, that this, and then on the left here, you've got this 6 foot at Kona,
Yeah.
and then the wall at the basin
Yeah.
actually prepared you for all three.
Sure.
I mean, how?
Yeah, man. Back then, I mean, skating back then, when you rode, you were always looking for something taller and bigger.
yep.
You wanted the next biggest thing. I want to go, and Gainesville Sensation. I used to love that place. Everything except for the broom finish.
Yeah, well, we have pictures of you without a shirt on. That didn't last long.
Yeah. I left a lot of skin there. That's for sure.
So
Yeah.
They said they're going to give it a nice light finish, but they used a pitchfork instead of a nice broom.
It was definitely broom finish, smooth but rough at the same time.
So I was unable to get everything perfectly chronologically, in order here.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out that it's important to get high on gravity, and that at Cherry Hill, that was their slogan. So, people who missed out on that skate park, which is what, under dirt now, I think we decided.
It's been there's a building on top of it.
It's still there.
UPS warehouse right now.
Jeez.
Still there.
Which one are you talking about?
Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill. Yeah.
Well, I call in for a delivery and give them the address and say it's underneath your floor. Can you deliver it?
Yeah.
Have them dig it up.
Yeah, that picture you got up there, I'm standing there with Casey Hamelinsky, his car. And then Guy Hoffman.
Oh, yeah.
And Casey's mom put us in the van and drove us up there.
She was big.
Cool.
Casey got around. He was all over the place.
Casey had some very good sponsors in Mom and Dad. They were.
Oh, he did.
They were very much behind his youth.
Yeah. I mean, IHB, he ripped IHB. He was a little kid. He was like 10 years old. And I can just remember him taking these like incredible slams, going down that snake run where you would get going a good 20 miles an hour and just straight into the wall. And he'd just pick his board up and just crying and walking back up the ramp to go down again, crying all the way up to the top, put his board down and go again.
Yep.
He was a tough kid.
So I have a little bit of technical issues, but this is what I do for Phil. So it keeps him busy. So let's make sure we got this right. So all right. So what year are we in now? We're in 1980.
Yeah, you're in the two in the center are in Australia.
Whoa.
That's like 1990 actually. And then all the way on the left is the that was the 80s all day. That's the board that actually took from me, that complete airhead.
Oh.
That board, those shoes, and that helmet are in the Smithsonian.
Oh, wow.
That was a Surf Expo, right, Mark?
Yeah, it was Surf Expo, and it was called the 80s all day contest. Yep. Yeah.
So is this you over here on the right with no shirt on doing this?
Yeah, that's the old Sun Tree ramp.
Well, I put the picture up for all the girls.
Are you wearing one of them ab t-shirts? Is that an ab t-shirt or is that
Yeah. No, that's when I was skating 6-7 days a week, 2-3 hours of 4 hours a day, every day.
Very cool.
You ain't got time to have any fat on your body.
No, not then. I think in that picture I'm actually I'm like
Damn
30
it.
years old in that picture.
Damn it, man. 30 years old.
Yeah.
Damn, that's old. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like 1987. So I was born
There was nobody over
57.
30 years old skateboarding in the 70s. That was cut off.
Well, I did that NSA Pro Circuit in the 80s, and I'm really the only skater from the 70s competed in the 70s contest and then competed in that Vert series. And it was, it was Tony, Hosoi, Cab, all those guys, and they're all like 10 to 12 years younger than me. They were calling me old back then. I was 28 when I first started skating on that.
So,
And,
so that was when the Tony and Christian war was raging.
Yes, it was. Yeah, yeah.
So props to California there. I mean, that was like part of our family tree, the Hosoi.
It was incredible getting to skate with all those guys, Chris Miller, Rob Roskop, Tom Graholski, I mean, Monty Nolder.
Oh, yeah.
The
Monty
whole Texas
Nolder.
crew, John Gibson, Craig Johnson, Jeff Phillips.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jeez.
that was an experience, man.
That's heavy
that
hitters right there, man.
was amazing. Yeah.
So can you, this is a funny question. Is there any way you can take us through the nightmare? It started and then it went away and then it got back. Or are we all good now with the whole
Oh, he's never told that story before.
You want to know the story, how that board got developed and came about and all that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then the artwork changed and you own it now and all that. I don't know how much you want to share about that, but if those are bygones, I'm good with that. I'm fine with that because I like where it is now.
Yeah. No, actually it was in like 86, 87. And that's when we were skating vert ramp Suntree out in the woods. And I mean, you'd get soaking wet with sweat within 15 minutes. And every air you tried, your hands were always slipping off the board. So I got the idea to cut the notches in the front to lock your hand in there on backside airs and mute airs. And then we were doing a lot of slides back then. So I got the idea of putting the hooks on the back to try to hook your heel or your toe into that when you did your slides. It works sometimes, but I mean, but just the idea of it ended up being a crazy shape. And it was not probably, but I believe was Walker's best-selling board that he ever had.
It was.
Oh, for sure.
And actually, at the time when I designed that board, I think it was maybe Madrid was making the Walker boards at the time. So he sent the template out to them. They sent it back and said, we can't make a board like that. Because back then, I don't think they were doing the CNC and they were, hand cutting the boards and stuff. So I told Bruce, I said, Bruce, and I had worked in cabinet shops for quite a while. And I said, I can make that board. So he goes, well, what do we got to do? So I told him, buy a compressor and routers. And he goes, well, make a list and let me know how much it'll cost. So I actually made a list and it was about 25 grand worth of equipment. And so Bruce put the money up and we set the factory up there at Walker and I started making all his boards.
That's awesome.
Started out with making the Nightmare. Then we just ended up doing all his boards.
Wonderful. That's a great story. So slippery hands and place for your feet, doing laybacks and all kinds of.
Yeah. If you get an original Nightmare, I cut that board out. I cut it, I shaped it, I painted it. If you get one of the originals, they're hard to come by.
So we're talking about that little curve there near the tail. Is that the
and the front
and the front too? Okay, you're right.
Yeah, that's the little toe notch for so when you're lapping things over, your toe can grab in.
Nice.
Well, also one of the things, I mean, and I think we've got a couple of pictures. Mark, it was the thing that I loved watching you do it is the front side laybacks on a flat wall, on a dusty, slippery ramp. Hats off to you. It's a great move.
Yeah, that was a trick I only did. I believe I did them from the late 70s to mid 80s, and then I gave up laybacks and hadn't done them since then. But there was a period where they were one of my best airs.
I saw you do one.
I'm sorry, layback slides I was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, layback slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a story to that too. I learned those. I was at a contest, Rainbow Wave in Tampa. And I was there judging. Shogo Kubo was there. Me and Shogo were the judges. Mike McGill was skating in the contest. He was a little kid. And Shogo was doing laybacks and layback airs. And after the contest was over, they had a party that night and kept the park open. And so Shogo and I went and started skating the half pipe. And I told Shogo, man, I want to learn them layback airs. And so he started teaching me. And within a half hour, I was doing layback slides that he taught me. And then I started doing the layback airs. And then eventually I taught Mike McGill how to do the layback airs. So, and I've been doing them laybacks ever since, since Shogo taught them to me. It's still a really fun trick to do.
Yeah. May he rest in peace. Shogo was awesome.
Yep.
That was it was always fun to be around him. He's in this picture too, I think, over at Clearwater.
He's in the SIO shorts.
It's him in the upper right, and on the right.
He's wearing the SIOs.
Yeah.
Boober
and
Bentley.
Mike Fulmer with his full body cast on, or he broke his leg up at Brunswick, Georgia half pipe.
Yeah.
That was brutal. I just got to the park and the people come around and go, oh, they just took Mike Fulmer away, broke his leg really bad. So I didn't even get to see him, until later when he had his cast on.
Interesting comment here. You can look at the shoes that Shogo is wearing. The blue, remember the blue suede Nikes? And then you see the photo right below it. Mark's got the Nikes on as well. Nike's owned fucking skateboarding for a while.
Oh, I'm probably one of the only skaters that I've been wearing Nikes since the 70s, and I wore Vans a few times. I like the Nikes better because they had a little more cushion in the bottom, and I never got bruised heels and stuff, and that was why I really liked the Nikes. So I've stuck with them, forever.
Yeah, that's
what
awesome.
I ride today.
So is Nike coming out with an Air Lake sneaker now?
Yeah. that would be cool.
Yeah, nice.
Let Dave get on that.
Oh, Robbie Weir was talking about that. He had a Nike shoot at his ramp, and he brought up some old images, and he was doing an air. He was doing a doubles routine. Robbie and Dan Murray were doing the air over and under. And you could see they were both wearing Nikes, and Nike was stoked on it. They're like, fucking A, we got to get back into this.
Yeah.
They just, it's interesting how they've always been around, but are never really get associated. I mean, they've got their brand now, but with the Dunks, but it's back then that was the shoe to have, man.
Yeah, it was.
I find it interesting that just subtle differences about the shoes make one more popular than another, because I've heard some people only want to wear Converse and some want to do whatever. But now you're saying the Nike had a little more cushion to it. So it's really interesting how the brands, it makes a difference, just like your.
Oh, it does. It does.
Kelly Lynn won't skate in anything but Converse. Kelly's been on Converse for probably 40 years.
There you go.
Yeah, slab of rubber with some fabric glued to it.
It's not the All-Stars. There's this one specific brand. He says every time he sees them, he buys every freaking pair he can find. So he's got like 12 pairs stacked up for the future. He's set.
Well, that's kind of how I am. I've probably got over 20 pairs of Nikes in my closet.
And he will spray paint them. He's like, fuck it. I just, these were orange and gray, and I just spray painted them black.
Yeah. I normally just buy one of each color when they come out.
So who's this in the bottom? Is this you, Mark, or this is Dave?
Down here. Yeah, that's me. And that car behind you, the green car there, that's my first car. That's a 1964 Rambler.
Rambler.
That was my first car. My dad bought that for me. He paid $300 for it. And he made me pay back every dime. I had to pay him $300.
Worth $10,000 now.
And it had an old flathead 6 on it. And in that picture, I was 17 years old. And that's an aluminum board made out of a sign. And we had some Chicago trucks on skates that my brother had cut in half and made that board for me. And I was the reason why I'm doing that is because I was seeing the Greg Weaver pictures in the magazine.
Yeah, but you're goofy. Did the negative get flipped?
Yeah, it must have. Yeah.
So, and that's the funny part. Everyone tried to do that Greg Weaver turn, and could. No one, I never saw anyone do that.
Yeah,
Steve Cathy turn. How the fuck did they do that stuff?
yeah.
He was
You had to
busy
have the
doing
speed,
this.
man. Lots of speed.
There's that layback air on airborne skates.
Wow.
That.
Yeah. Yep. That board, I have every pro model I've ever had here on my wall. That's the only board I don't have one. But Sid from Water Brothers has one. He posted it about, I don't know, maybe like 6-8 months ago. He posted a picture of it. And then he wrote on the bottom, "No Mark Lake, you can't have it." I was like, man, I didn't even get to ask you.
I like the trucks on that Going Super Pros.
Yes.
That's rare like fuck.
Yep. That's Casey's head sticking over the
Oh,
coat.
yeah. That's great.
Did you ever use this lapper thing you've got down here on when you were? This is you right here at Kona doing this? What
Shot, the lower left?
Yeah,
That's Greg Machad in that lower left.
Machad.
Yeah, we used to do doubles at IHB like that. I'd go and he'd come behind me. We did a double for Skateboard Madness doing that.
Was he is he the guy in the picture previously where the hole was in the ramp?
No, he was behind. I think he was in the picture behind me on that one. Was it two skaters?
Yes, there are.
Two skaters. It was Greg behind me. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So, Dave, when did you jump into this?
Well, he's coming. He's coming. I'm going to have lots of stuff. Dave. Okay, so it was the mid 80s. We're around there now.
Are we in the 80s yet?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're kind of sketching around, but you were probably starting to get pretty damn good by this time, right? Because these Kona shots here are probably 79, 80.
Yeah, those are. Because that's my first flight pro model there, and that came out in 78. So that had to be 78, 79.
So within 3 or 4 years, Dave is getting noticed by Bruce, right?
I actually got on Walker, I think 85 or 86.
Okay.
So I was building up to that point. I kind of really got serious about skateboarding like 82, 83, 84, and built up to that point where Bruce recognized what I was doing in the mid 80s and got on. And I was part of that, the Walker Street team, which, the whole from, I'd say 85 through early, maybe 91, whenever that Walker kind of slowed down.
So I got a question. What the heck is Lambretta?
Good question. So let's see where to start with this one. My father had started a motor scooter shop in 1979 called Lambretta South, and Lambretta is an Italian motor scooter, like a motorbike. And we were selling Lambretta motor scooters. Then we started selling Yamaha, but the actual corporation was called Lambretta South. And I was a skateboarder and I was working in my dad's shop, but I was very business oriented. So I contacted Kevin Thatcher, who was the editor of Thrasher at the time.
All right.
And I said, your T-shirts and your apparel is really cool. I think I could get into shops over here in Florida. And so I made a deal with Kevin Thatcher, and I actually became the Thrasher distributor for Thrasher apparel.
Dang.
This is like, I don't know, 84, 85.
Yeah, right,
and that's what kind of led me into having a skate shop, because I opened Lambretta Skateboard Center sort of in a side building at my dad's shop. And that was from like 1985 through 91. For 6 years, I had a raging skate shop, which had a really incredible skate scene in Pompano Beach.
Pompano Beach. You're 21.
That's where Lambretta came from. It kind of came from this motor scooter. No one knew it was a motor scooter. It was Lambretta Skateboard Center. But we had street competitions. I was a street skater. So Mark was in this vert skating world, and I was part of this whole new generation of street skateboarders. It was a new discipline. It was always freestyle, and people skated on the streets, but street skating was not there were no prior to this, there were no competitions until really like 82 or 83. There was no street competitions that were classified as street style.
No, it hadn't happened yet. Yeah.
So it was just that was kind of what turned me on. And that's, I skated transition, but it was smaller transition. I'd skate a vert wall in a park, or I'd go to Kona and skate. But I was much more into the street stuff, and that was my background. So I had this skate shop from call it 85 through 91, and every 3 or 4 months we'd do a huge competition in the parking lot.
You're a glutton for punishment. 3 or 4 months between. Oh, you need it.
Almost quarterly. My dad loved it. You know, the hundreds of skateboarders would come into the parking lot and take over the whole motorcycle shop. And we had a whole bunch of huge obstacles that we built. We'd pull old cars into the parking lot. You know, we buy wrecked cars, we build log ramps on them. It was that whole scene. And we Thrasher would run, coming soon, the Lambretta contest, and we'd get people from the whole East Coast would show up. We'd have hundreds of skateboarders, and we sold lake skateboards in the shop and Walker skateboards in the shop.
Yeah, we had a lot of our team members would go down and compete down there.
Right. That's all before the internet. People don't realize how ancient all this stuff is. They charged you for the long distance phone call back then.
Yeah, so advertised in zine magazines if you happen to get handed one of those from a shop.
So when did Cadillac Wheels close?
Cadillac Wheels closed. That was kind of, what would you say?
80?
Yeah, I'd say right around 1980. It wasn't.
Yeah, that was before my shop and before.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's like you're the beauty of what you've done in skating is to make the literal transition.
Yeah. From
the world of what Mark was into what got us for 20 years.
What kept us going for a while.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Because the sport has lulls like anything else does, but it's not going to go away because it's too damn fun and it's good for you. So it's really
different forms. It finds different forms to live,
Yeah, that's why we have Keith Helene in the Skateboard Hall of Fame.
When I was getting into this whole street scene, there was always stories of all these big concrete parks that were, in Pompano and Palm Beach and all this stuff, but they were all gone by the time I was doing this.
Yep.
I never really, other than being a regular at Kona, because I went to college in St. Augustine. I went to Flagler College. So,
you're lucky you didn't have to skate Pompano Beach. Pompano Beach was scary as fuck.
I tell you, Dave, can I ask you to hang on for a second? I want to watch a video, and then we're going to go back and we're going to have more pictures of you.
Sure.
And we want to pick it up when Pompano closed or somewhere around early days of Lambretta and the cars in the parking lot and all that good stuff. So Phil will make that magically appear.
I'm not doing crap. Just
yes, you are.
Look at that. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? Look
no
at this
shirt. No shirt.
Wow. I haven't seen that. That's pretty cool.
So this is Sensation Basin that Phil built. And it didn't set up for goofies to do that.
No. And then you're going backwards over those bumps.
Yeah, I remember faking across them, and I used to do like them Elgatos when I came back to the other side, the 360 coming out of a fakie. Wow, that's some good old stuff.
I would try rock to fakie on that big roll.
Yeah.
You come out of it and you're hauling ass backwards. And if you're regular foot, you're coming at that, on your backside over these humps, and it just sucked.
Wow.
Did not
there it is.
Wow.
There it is.
These guys,
that's cool footage. Dang, I don't think I've ever seen that. That is awesome.
Is this you?
That looks that
almost looks like Plumer. Almost looks like Plumer. This style.
I think that's Hackett.
Is that Hackett? Yeah. You know what? I think you're right.
Yeah, that's Hackett.
We got a lot of Mr. Hackett
on an Alpha board. This is 78.
Well, Alpha was at this contest in Kona.
So Dave Hackett, you're invited to be on the show just to tell us about why you got ripped off and didn't win. So,
actually, Dave Hackett did win.
Yeah, he did win.
Newsflash.
And he was wearing suspenders with his feet attached to the board.
Yeah,
a lot of skaters that were pissed off. And it was funny because I ran into him recently up in Indian Harbor Beach. They had surf and skate.
That's George Wilson right there.
What was it, like a flea market type thing with old boards? And this is just like less than a year ago, and I met him up there and we talked about that contest. And he brought it up. He goes, yeah. He goes, I won that contest. I don't know how, because I was wearing the suspenders. He goes, well, maybe it had something to do with that. Yeah. All the judges were from California.
I'm going to play this again because I want to talk about rolling waves. Flying wheels, excuse me.
Flying wheels.
Flying wheels. And I don't know how to get through this, so we're just going to have to go through this again. But Flying Wheels was in Gadsden, Alabama, and that was a pass vert half pipe. Did you ever pull off anything in that thing? Like, I mean, invert, flip. That was crazy. So, do you know what I'm talking about?
Flying Wheels, aren't they rebuilding that one? Is that the one they're rebuilding?
They are. They're rebuilding Gadsden. Yeah, they've got a lot of the same stuff going in too.
Gadsden, Alabama.
Yeah, Gadsden had that half pipe with no flat bottom, like super long. It went from like, maybe like 5 or 6 feet deep to 10 foot deep.
Yeah, and it was they had one guy there. He had these really weird white elbow pads on, and he was skating the deep end, and nobody else would go near it. We go about halfway down it. It was like, that's enough for me. That is amazing. You're pulling that up at the basin.
Wow.
So I just wanted to use this to kind of show you some footage of that you may not have seen. And
I'm stoked on that flip too. Really cool to see that.
Look at Hackett grabbing stink bug.
Yeah, man.
So Hackett pushes Mongo and grabs stink bug. I mean, come on, bro. I always give him shit about that.
I push Mongo too, man. It's sorry. It's the only way I know.
He's got some incredible frontside lapper grind still today.
He can slash like a mofo. Yep.
The style on him is amazing.
Yep. So that's Rainbow Wave there.
Yeah, I don't know. And I give Phil the time digits. It's not his fault, it's mine. But that's George Wilson on the left. I don't know who was in the blue helmet.
Russ Thompson just in front of you right there.
Yeah. That was almost. So this is
Gadsden. Wow.
That's that. Fucking huge.
Oh, it was so good.
And it got deeper.
Smooth back then.
No flat bottom.
I hung up. I tried an invert. I said, I gotta try it. I woke up in the parking lot getting high. That was my medication for a concussion, I'm sure.
I got a little bit of a story from Gadsden there from that event. I was up there judging. I was judging one of the pros that was judging the contest.
That's Rodney Mullen.
And I had flown up there, and I was supposed to fly out. I believe it was Sunday morning, and we left the park Saturday night. And we're all going to go meet up at the hotel and party. And we pulled into a gas station to get some gas, and we get out, and there's this really cute girl at the pump, and I walk over and I start talking to her. And she's like, oh, yeah, my dad owns the Gadsden Skatepark. And I'm like, really? And she goes, yeah, you were judging that, weren't you? And I go, yeah, I was. And we started talking. And she asked me, she said, what are you doing? And I said, well, we're going back to the hotel. And she goes, well, you want to come to my house? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I ended up getting in her car, left my buddies, and ended up staying at her house and missing my plane the next morning.
Hell yeah.
Lucky boy.
And I got a ride back to the hotel, and George Wilson, he had drove up there, and he was there, and I started talking to him. I told him how I missed my plane, and he goes, shoot, well, I can give you a ride to Daytona, because I lived in Melbourne at the time. And I said, all right, that'll be cool. So I rode with him. He drove me back to Daytona, and we got to Daytona, and we didn't know how I was going to get from Daytona to Melbourne. He goes, you know what? I'll just drive you all the way. And he actually drove me all the way home.
Nice. Yeah, that's
nice.
Yeah.
Nice guy, man.
That's
George
a great story there. I like that.
Yeah.
Small town stuff.
Yeah. So, that was a great weekend.
So what we just saw also was Rodney Mullen and standing there by himself with Bruce Walker taking pictures of Tim Scroggs. I think it's kind of an interesting perspective. Great capture, Phil.
The interest, if you go back to that, If it's
I got to watch the whole thing over again. I can't.
okay, never mind. But interesting piece there was in that last frame was Jim McCall and Joe Ayers. And Joe Ayers actually, and he was taking pictures of Scroggs. Scroggs actually came in third in that contest, and Joe Ayers ended up winning it.
Was it Chuck Andrews there too?
Yeah. Huck wasn't winning contests anymore. People had figured him out. The circus didn't happen anymore. So, people were tired of that. Jumping on a table. Ooh, wow. How about you do a double kickflip or something? You couldn't. But
yeah, it was it was a great contest. We had, John Hutt from California come all over to skate down a hill into the wind. It was kind of rough, but it was a great. I talked to Hudson when they inducted Mark at the Hall of Fame down in Newport Beach. Hudson was also there, and I went up and I talked with Hut, and he's had a tough life, but I talked with Hut for a little while and said, hey man, thanks for coming out. And he actually stayed at my house for a couple of days back then. And cool. He was like, oh, I remember that contest. That was great. And we talked for a bit, but that was, you think about all of these things that happened so long ago, but you can remember them just like they were yesterday.
And it's amazing how that is, isn't it?
That's what we're trying to save. We're trying to preserve that. So I would like to ask Mr. Bamdas to rewind to any point he wants to start over and start talking to us more about right when you were having these contests every quarter, and just kind of take it.
Sure. So we had this raging skate shop. I had Lambretta Skateboard Center, and I had at any given time I'd have like probably 400 or 500 boards in there. I mean, big inventory.
Wow.
And regular competitions.
That's some coin.
Yeah. I was riding for Walker at the time, competing a lot, traveling mostly on the East Coast, doing the ESA and NSA circuits. I was also an ESA competition director. So the competitions at Lambretta started as non-sanctioned, and then they became ESA. So we were actually qualifying skaters to go to the East Coast Championships. So the first one was in Ocean City, Maryland, like 1987. And then the following year, the East Coast Championships were at Kona Skatepark. And so we would get hundreds of people, and they were crazy scenes. We had punk bands playing in the parking lot, barbecues, people jumping over cars. Walker team would come down, Chris Walkham and Chuck Dinkins, who's a great friend of mine. He was skating for Walker. He competed all of these contests. And it was basically a who's who of East Coast street skateboarding at these events for 5 years. So
Walkham's worth the price of admission anyway, just to see, not even for his skating, fucking antics.
Yeah, he was always antics with Bacchum. He was a rager.
Yeah, man.
You got to remember, this is before Skatepark of Tampa opened. I think Skatepark of Tampa opened in '93. So this Lambretta, I would say, pretty safe to say this was the first solid like street skating place where people would come in Florida on a regular basis. There were little surf shops and skate shops that would do a competition here or there, but we had a regular schedule that went on for 5 years. And to this day, a lot of skateboarders come to me and say, those Lambretta days, they were amazing. Including
cool.
That's a good stretch of time for any skate shop. That's not bad.
Had a good run. It had a good run. At some point in the early 90s, I think around 91, skating was really slowed down, and I just couldn't justify the square footage, and it became showroom for jet skis and all the other products that my family's motorsports dealership was selling. So Lambretta shut down in the early 90s, but obviously I never stopped my involvement with skateboarding.
It seems like skateboarding ties in with recessions. All the parks in the 70s died when the recession of 81 came in, and now you're saying 90, another recession came in around 90, and everything disappears. So it's just weird.
What's interesting?
Yeah, that's about when Vert went through a dead period, like 1990 when it started dying out, and because it was all backyard ramps, and all the ramps got tore down, and
Well, the business model that Dave, maybe he doesn't realize it, but if it was just a skate shop, when I see a new skate shop go up, I go, well, that'll be gone in a couple of years, because there's no more legs to the stool. Spot has got so far the supreme business model, but it's based around, having kids come there, events that they have, vendors can pay to be there. They've got their website and ordering, and they're always, so you were like a predecessor. You were like a teacher to them. Let's have 4 events a year, and everyone's going to bank on them. If they miss one, they're going to go, oh man, look at all this we missed out on. So where this is 85, internet was what, 95? When was the internet?
Yeah, 94 something
Much
like
later.
that.
Yeah, we had zines. The communication was I published a zine called Speed Wobble.
Speed Wobbles. All right.
Speed Wobble was my zine, but obviously there was a lot of zines, and the news got out through zines and Thrasher. We'd always do press releases to Thrasher, and there was that 3-month lag time, so we'd have to tell them months ahead of time what our date was, rain or shine, because obviously there was no internet. But
it rained every day.
Got to back up a little bit. So I went to school I left for a few years and went to school up in St. Augustine, the Flagler College, and my roommate was Pat Clark.
Nice.
Pat Clark was on Walker, and he actually introduced me to Bruce and made the introduction that got me in front of Bruce. But Pat was a wild man, and I lived with him for 2 years. 2.5 years, and then his brother Willie also later on, but he was a ripper, and we lost him recently, unfortunately.
Yeah,
he skated for Walker also. He actually used to ride a nightmare board for a while.
Yes, he did.
Which was pretty cool.
He did, but he was a great friend of mine, and he was honored at the Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, which was really nice. So his brother was there to accept his award, so that was really nice.
Yeah, I got to skate with him at Reef Orlando's house. He's got that big indoor vert ramp in his backyard, and a few months before Pat passed, me, Dan Brown, and him were skating up at Reef's ramp like 3-4 weekends in a row together. And he wasn't skating a lot, man. And he would just show up. He had so much confidence, man. He'd drop right in and do an invert first wall without even warming up, and it's taking me 20 minutes just to get my kick turns going. And then he's doing axle stalls.
Artificial hips also.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, he came back very strong from that.
Yeah, and I mean, his confidence was crazy. Like, I'd be standing up on top of the ramp going, how did he do that? He just dropped straight into an invert, didn't even warm up.
You see, Phil, you can do it. Phil just got his.
I don't know how you do that.
Second one. Phil just got his second hip replacement.
Here it is, right there, baby. Look at that, huh?
Yeah.
So Dave, let's talk about this Walker ad here, the Living Large. Are you going caveman on that 50/50?
No, I'm not. Now let me tell you the difference between a caveman and a boneless.
Oh, boneless. Okay, it's boneless.
That's boneless. Right. Caveman is like run along and hold your board in your hand and just jump on stuff, right? That's caveman. Boneless is, what a boneless is. You're cruising along, you're rolling on all 4 wheels, and you grab your board, and with just your front foot, you bounce off the ground and you boost into a boneless. That's a boneless 50/50.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it didn't look caveman-y, but I was like, didn't know what else to call it. Okay, so caveman is just carrying the board and jumping up. Boneless is riding it. Okay, got it.
and basically, the background on that trick is, I'd say 1987 is when street skaters first started doing handrail tricks. That was like Mark Gonzalez and Nadas Kappas. There were pictures of them in the magazines. We're trying to figure out, how did these guys get on the rails? They were ollieing into board slides on rails. And we had nothing but magazines to look at this, sequentials, and then everybody was like, oh my God, look at this, it's amazing. Some videos started coming out. And then in 1988 was the first picture of a skateboarder doing a 50/50 grind, 2 trucks sliding down a rail. And that was Ed Templeton. There was a picture of Ed in 1988 doing a 50/50 grind. It was ollie into a 50/50. So I had the idea because I could not ollie that high. I can ollie, a curb or something like that, but I'm not a big ollier. So my specialty was foot plants, fast plants, and bonelesses. So I said, I'm going to start bonelessing down these rails. So I started on lower contest rails and worked my way up to big rails like this. And by late 1988, I was doing boneless 50/50s, and I was the first one doing it, from what I understand. Who knows who's first? First one got recognized doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
Thrasher even recognized it as one of the first.
Yeah, Thrasher says it was the first. So Walker ran this full page ad in Thrasher, Transworld, and Slap magazines. They sent it out in '89. It didn't run. It ran in late '89 and then into January of 1990. And it was just to this day, people are like, "Okay, you're the first one to ever do a boneless 50/50 on handrail." So
Sweet.
Yay.
Props. Major props.
That is pretty
Yeah,
cool,
good
man.
one.
That is, I mean,
Vroom, 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 vroom.
there's nobody doing them. When you look at the pictures, you still have to figure it out.
yeah.
And you have to want it.
There's some good video of it also. You might have it in some of the files, but there's some good video of it. And Thrasher just a few years ago did what's called a magnified look back video feature of that trick. So they got the footage and they did a feature on it showing the slow-mo going down the rail.
Nice.
We're going to revisit that. We've got it. It's waiting in the disarray here. I'm just waiting for Phil to go to sleep so I can.
Shut up.
Are you okay, Phil? Sitting?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay. I got my cane right here, ready to smack your head if you keep this stuff up here.
All right. So we got Grasso in here. I mean, is it true you hung out with him? I mean, was he him?
Yeah. I mean, I skated with him, and he did a lot of those NSA contests in the '80s, so I got to know him back then. And that picture, I think, is from Rumble in Ramona. That was like
Rumble in
2014.
I think that is Rumble.
Navarrete would put on this vert event called Rumble in Ramona, and it was just tons of vert guys from all different eras show up and just skate for the whole weekend. And Jeff was there, so I got to hang out with him, and he was always super cool to me because he on his love letters he always gave me props on the lake flip. He's because a lot of people was a Miller flip first or lake flip first and he always said they don't really know. And I said, well, you can look at it this way. Miller was the first one to do them in a pool. I was the first one to do them on a vert ramp.
Well, we just saw him do one on a 20 grade sandpaper, 12-foot high, 4 feet of vert. That's good enough for me.
Yeah. And then, I mean, and if you look at my flips in the videos and you look at Miller flips are a little sideways kind of front side invert kind of coming around. And anytime I've done my flip, I pull directly straight backwards. It's a true flip.
It is truly crazy, is what it is.
And I did the very first one. The very first one was in like 77, like end of 77, beginning of 78 in my parents' backyard. I had a half pipe. That was when they had no flat bottom. It was 11 foot. And I just got done surfing up at the beach. And I got home and I said, oh, you know, I'm going to take a couple rides skating. So I had old Toyota pickup. I pulled that in the backyard because I put the speakers up on the roof, put some AC/DC in, and I'm skating by myself. And I'm up on top of the ramp, and I'd been landing them at IHB where I'd land kind of sideways and slide it in backwards. Yep. And I'm just up on top of the ramp, and I'm just talking to myself going, why don't you just flip straight over and ride in backwards? And so I started trying to do it. And I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 tries, and I landed one. And I remember landing it and riding along and like looking around going, holy shit, I just did a flip and nobody's seen it.
Nobody there.
No one's going to believe me.
And then after that, I mean, I just started doing them a lot. And then 1984, that was my first bad injury in skating on St. Pete, Paul Schmidt's ramp, or Grigley's, whoever ramp it was over there. They had a contest. And I'd done a flip and I pulled off the wall too far. I landed on the board like you were supposed to, but I landed down way down near the flat bottom, and my back foot just flipped up and spun around backwards.
No.
And I remember crawling to the side of the ramp and throwing up, and they put me in someone's van and smoking a joint and drinking like 3 beers on the way to the hospital. And they got there, they did some x-rays, and the doctor came out and said, it's a really bad break. He goes, you broke the whole ball off of your ankle, and that broke into 2 pieces. And he said, you know, we need to do immediate surgery. And I said, well, I live in Melbourne. And he says, how long will it take? I said, can I go to my hospital at my place? And he goes, how long will it take you to get there? And I said, about 2.5 hours. And he said, I'll put it in a cast. He goes, but you got to drive directly to the hospital because you need to have surgery, because being it's completely broke off, you know, there's a possibility this could die or not retake. So I drove back, and we went in there, and they did the surgery. And they had told me there's a possibility if this thing died, I was going to have a club foot. And it was like, I think like a month, 6 weeks later, they opened it up a second time, and they got in there, and they gave me the good news that everything was glued together, and it was alive, and I was going to be good. So 8 months after that, 8 months after I broke it, I was doing flips again, and I did them till the last one I did was on my 57th birthday.
Wow, that's cool.
That's incredible.
You know, back in the day, people were getting hurt all the time. I mean, it was just bad design, bad gravity, bad geometry. Now,
yeah, well, there was a lot of rough ramps back then. The transitions were just terrible. Like today, that's the greatest thing about being a vert skater or just a skater in general today. I mean, everything is so perfect. And the pads and the wheels, and you know, I mean, it's hard to quit.
So good?
Yeah,
is that why the kids
are so park? Good? I'm going to call it "You're Going to Get Hurt Park," and it's just all brush finish, bad everything, and you can skate it.
Kinks and bad tranny. Hey, I've got, you know, it's interesting. You talked about your recovery there, Mark.
Yeah.
Like Fulmer, when he snapped his femur.
Yeah.
It was 1 year to the day he snapped his femur. A year later, he was on the cover of Skateboarder Mag.
There you go. Yes. That's when you find out you're a real skater, and is when you get that first real bad injury.
Yep. How bad?
You know, and it doesn't slow you down. It motivates you.
Yeah. He was like, fuck it. I'm going to come back. And he came back, and yeah, that was his ollie. You know, the one front side ollie at Lakewood.
Yeah.
In a half pipe. And the other interesting piece I was thinking about when you were talking about doing your first real flip, you know, it just kind of happened out of, you know, I don't want to say not out of thin air, but just like you did it. And so McGill, when he was learning the McTwist, same type of thing. You know, the other guys went off to lunch. He's like, no, I'm going to hang out and work on something. Took him about 45 minutes, and he learned how to do a McTwist.
Yeah.
And it was just like, because he'd been trying it, it's like, yeah, I kind of think I got this. They took off, and he just did it. There was no one around to see the very one.
That is pretty cool.
It changed everything.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it did.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
Let's go.
The other trick I invented was a hip hop invert over a channel.
Ooh,
and that happened by accident. I was skating in some NSA contests, and I would skate Suntree between the ramps, training there. And I was already doing channel plants, and I was sitting over there going, you know what? I'm going to plant my hand on the close side instead of going across it and planting. I'm going to plant my hand on the close side and try to fall across to the other side, reach across and just fall. And when I grabbed that close side and I started going across, I started falling. I panicked, and I reached out and grabbed the other side, and I slid down and went, holy shit. I bet I could plant my hand on this side if I got enough speed, and I could hop to the other side. And it was like 3 or 4 tries later, boom, boom, hip hop. It was crazy. And then I showed up doing that in the Houston Big Red Ramp NSA contest. And that was the first one anybody, you know, that I'd done in public away from my private ramp.
Wow. So that the craziest hip hop I've ever seen was Dan Brown used to do them at Cedar Crest. Dan Brown, Ho Hip Hop channel. Ho Hip Hop.
Oh, hip hop.
No-handed fucking invert across the fucking channel. Fucking scary stuff. Because he used to do those fucking ho-hos.
Right.
Scary shit. But
the channel plant across the channel and then into the.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. I see. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What's sick also is the front side hip hop that like Pedro Delfino has.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and the way that came about, that was always a trick I wanted to do, but never really tried it. And I was skating a bunch with Pedro when he was skating for Lake at the time. And we were skating up at Gilfoos's vert ramp, and him and I were riding up there one day, and we started talking about tricks. And, he talked about my hip hop. And I said, well, I said, man, I've always had this thing where I've wanted to do a frontside hip hop, but, now I'm 50 years old. I don't think I'm gonna try to do one of them now. And so we talked about it, and he goes, well, I'll try one when we get up there. And it took him like 5 tries, and he started doing frontside. It wasn't a channel, but he would plant his hand, travel about 3 feet, and plant it again and go in. He was doing frontside hip hops. That was the first ones I ever seen.
Yeah, they're sick.
It was cool. Andy McDonald, actually, he just posted some stuff on Instagram doing a hip hop, and I skated in the Banger in the Hangar in Houston like 3 years ago, and that was a huge channel. It's like a solid 4 foot, and he looks at me and he goes, "This one's for you," and he drops in and just does this killer hip hop invert, and it's just cool to see people like that doing, the trick that you brought out.
Shout out to Andy Mack. He's a nice guy, man. It's fun to watch him skate too. I mean, some people
he's got one of the biggest bag of tricks out there.
He does.
He's got so many tricks.
Dave, where's this boneless here on the bottom right?
That is in Daytona. I think it's called Bethune Park, and I'm in my 50s there.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, man, that's
old man
recent.
trying to relive my childhood there. But let me move this over. What's interesting about that one, in Miami, there's a street obstacle they call triangle. It's a big pointy triangle that the kids do tricks into, and this is sort of a recreation of that in this
homage, as it were. Homage.
So you basically fly off. There's a gap there of a few feet, and then there's a point, and you land into the triangle from the top.
50. How old were you here?
Probably 53.
Crazy. You guys are crazy. I mean, look at the picture on the bottom left. I mean, and the top right. How did you get the blood? What's going on with here?
Blood. Oh, that was a collision with a BMXer at the skate park, and actually one of the foot pegs. He was high and I was low, and the foot peg hit me in the mouth, and it made a hole I could stick my tongue through. You can't really see closely, but I could stick my tongue through the hole. And I just remember going to the emergency room. They had to sew the hole up, and I kept sticking my tongue through and tell my wife, "Take a picture of my tongue coming through the hole."
Really? Classic picture. Where is it?
I like the way you put the rainbow around it.
Well, I thought it deserved a little special attention.
Yes.
So
that's my profile picture on Instagram, I think.
Oh, by the way, everyone around the world, globally, it's the boneless. It's not the Bon.
Hey.
I'm going to get boneless one. Yes, boneless one, just like it sounds.
Well, I want to encourage all the young folks watching our show to go into orthopedic surgery and lip repair and all that kind of stuff. It's good.
Maxillofacial.
Yeah.
So this is the part that, okay, first on the top right, that one, I love that. That's like really contorted. In front of the library or whatever, the Pebblestone building.
FAU. That's actually at FAU. That was my proving ground. FAU University in Boca. I'd skate there all the time.
And that's kind of big. What's the top left? Is this a contest?
Yeah, that's actually one of the first street contests in Florida. The place was called Orange Cycle Works, and Tony Alva was one of the judges. He was a guest judge there, and I think that was my first or second street contest ever. And that was a really tight little tranny. It was about 18 couple feet tall. And that was during practice, but I skated that contest, and the guy who I got like second or I think third in my division. The guy who got first place, his name was John Thomas, and Tony Alva put him on the team and brought him to California. Pro JT.
Yeah.
He had the famous tuck knee front side airs off of launch ramps and stuff. So he became a very famous street pro. But that was one of my first street contests in Orlando.
So look at that behemoth of the board that you're riding. So look at the shit you were doing on these freaking 10-inch wide with
That board,
giant
by the way,
fucking
that
trucks.
board, I don't know if you can see this. Where am I? I can't see myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy crap.
This is-
With
this
rails.
is a Walker Exterminator
With rails.
with Walker chopsticks.
Chopsticks, that's right. Yeah.
Sticks.
So
Probably weighed 12 pounds with the trucks and wheels on.
I don't know. I can't see myself, but I have the chopstick logo there. My sponsors of the time were Vans, Walker, G&S trucks.
Oh, Jesus, trucks. Did you have
Yeah,
the
they're
plastic base plates?
They started with plastic base plates, which blew apart upon impact, and they moved on to the aluminum base plate, with the chrome moly welded hanger. But they were terrible. I battled with them for about 3 years, and then just went back to independence because I couldn't deal with it anymore. So
Indy for life.
I had a lot of cool apparel, a lot of cool clothes, G&S clothes that I wore for a few years. But the trucks were just the trucks.
I was so stoked when Gullwing stopped paying me, because I'm like, the only way I'm riding these trucks is because you guys are paying me. I was like, out of here. I know you still ride them, Mark, but
I rode them for 40 years for free.
I'm still on Gullwings.
The two boards I ride now, I got a vert board set up and a bowl board, and they got magnesium Pro 3s on them.
Yeah. If I had
been riding those same trucks for 35 years, 30 years.
If I had mags, I would probably still be riding them. But those ran out back in the 80s. My little box dwindled.
Yeah.
So, but
Yep.
Bruce Mason's got 2 or 3 sets of mags. So is that the board that you had in your hand in the bottom left picture?
Let me see.
I'm just looking at the sticker job.
I probably have that board. I have that board in the bottom left picture up in the. I have every freaking Walker board ever rode. But I stayed on Exterminators almost exclusively for 5 or 6 years. So that's an Exterminator in the bottom left, and that's an Exterminator in the tweaked boneless in the top right. That picture in the bottom right, wearing the yellow shirt with the Thrasher, that was one of my contests, just kind of overseeing one of my contests. You don't really see any obstacles there, but that was one of the custom shirts from Thrasher. That was like off their press with the triple print.
That's right.
Is that Alex Sargente right there?
That's a young Alex Sargente.
Yeah, look at that guy. Wow.
That's got to be like 2005, and
like
that was
7 or 8 years old or something.
That was a Grind for Life contest in Jupiter, Abacoa, and I won my division. Alex won his division, and Vinton Passetti won his division. The 3 of us were standing there. At the time, I was working with Vinton, and we were doing the 187.
Right, yeah.
Which is a cool story. Can I take a quick tangent?
Yeah, please go.
Devin, so
everybody's got a Vinny story.
Yeah, Vinton. Vinton's St. Augustine. He grew up in St. Augustine, and his family had a canvas shop. And he started sewing up and he was a skateboarder, obviously. He started sewing up 187 pads, and I knew him when he was 14 years old. When I went to Flagler College, I'd skate with him. So he was flowing me pads, and I'd call him, "Hey, Vinton," and he was my pad sponsor for years and sending me pads. And one day I called him up and I said, "Vinton, I need some pads." He said, "No, I stopped making them." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm not making any money. I'm selling them to Eastern Skate Supply. I'm selling them here. And I did the math, and I'm just not making money. It's not worth doing this anymore. I'm out." So I said, come down to South Florida. Let's talk business. So he came down, and we put a business plan together, and I went into we helped them resurrect the company, and went overseas and got them his designs, his incredible designs, because Vinton is a pad genius, but built in overseas. And so they're a fraction of the price. Brought over our first container, and the rest is kind of history. The 187 is just jamming, and he eventually moved to California with his family and built the business up really big. So I'm no longer involved financially with 187, but
thanks for getting that done, man.
Yeah, I got him.
I
worked with him for like 5 years with that, and they are the best pads.
They are the best pads.
They're amazing.
I can say that.
in that picture, Alex Sargente rode for us, and it was a grind for life contest. So it was we all won our division. So that's what that picture is about.
That was an unsolicited testimonial for the pads.
There you go.
Hashtag
Yeah.
187,
Look.
killer pads, killer pads.
Those got to be great
Yeah.
pads. You know, they got to be great pads when Tony Hawk wears them for free. He's not paid. He doesn't take the logos off them, along with all the top guys. You know, they just need them because they're the best pads. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I think they're pussies. You see, you had to fall on concrete like we did, then you needed pads, and we had hockey pads,
Right.
and they were fabric, and they would sweat, and we would get. I had a scab for 4 years on my right knee, so now they have a perfect transition with Skate Light or Gator Skins or whatever it is. Even the concrete is like, I mean, what do you get? A burn from just how fast you're going, but it doesn't.
Still
Doesn't
fucking.
rip the pads off.
Yeah,
I hate falling. I still.
falling's not good.
I don't fall anymore.
Where's this wall ride at? What are we doing there?
That is a contest wall ride. It's just a backside wall ride at a contest, and the Florida contest.
It's got some height on it.
Cool artsy shot.
Yeah, dig it. So it's almost good Ritchie-ian, you know, with the flash going on.
Yeah, it was night. It was a night. I think it was a night practice session before the contest.
And what do you think about graffiti on the skate parks? I look at all these news parks and they're just all pure concrete, but there's no art to them added. Like this has got stuff in there.
Yeah, this was a wood. This was a wood vertical, like a wall, contest wall. So it was spray painted.
Right.
Dig it.
The 70s DIY.
Yeah. And then the bottom left is a street contest somewhere, probably Miami street contest. Just
Danian Shopping Square.
Dania Shopping Square, yeah.
yeah, it's probably Island Motorsports, Dania Beach or something like that.
It's just amazing, you know, to see how much effort it took. I mean, I had to go a long way to get to Phil's Park, but it was the same place I went all the time, and I knew it was open. You guys had long distance phone calls, zines, mail. There's a lot of try. There's a lot of gotta want it to do what you guys did, and it's amazing that I don't know. I'm proud to be associated with you guys. It's awesome, and we got a little shot of you at St. Pete there. We're gonna see more of that. So let's move. So I had to get your buddy Chuck in there a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That top left is Chuck and I at NSA contest 1988. I think it's St. Petersburg qualifier. We were kind of dorking in that picture, but
That's what makes it's a classic. It's a great shot.
yeah, and that's so cool because that's the picture of him right next to me in St. Pete right there. Wow, at the Hall of Fame.
That's
Right.
them endless friendships that you form
Yeah.
from being a skater.
I met Chuck in like it's either 86 or around 86 or 87. There was a street contest in Pensacola called the Pensacola Big Bash. And Bruce said, hey, the whole Walker team's got to go there and represent. So I went to Pensacola and met Chuck there. Chuck was coming in from, where is he from? Tennessee or?
He is.
Yeah, he came in and
He's from Memphis.
yes, and
Yeah.
he came in. He was on fire. He ripped at that contest, and it was a pro-am contest. A lot of the top pros were there, and Bruce also had the whole freestyle team there. So you had all Jim McCalls and Yo-Yo Schultz and all those guys were there. So it was street and freestyle indoors in the auditorium in Pensacola. But Chuck and I have been great friends ever since then.
How many people were on Bruce's team were 1988, you said?
Well, this was probably 86 or 87. The street team at its max got the street team because he had a freestyle team, he had a street team, and then he had like the vert guys. So the street team probably maxed out at, I'm guessing, 8 or 10 at its peak.
Yeah.
But,
That's still like 20 guys, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was like they were all East Coast guys, except for we had one street skater from California, Bill Bridow, who was amazing. And we were very fortunate because Bill was a great videographer. So a lot of my footage from the 80s was actually shot by Bill Bridow. And I was, a lot of people skating in the 80s wasn't chronicalized, wasn't, documented on film. So we were lucky to have Bill Bridow, because when he'd come to the East Coast, he actually moved to Florida eventually. He did a lot of filming of walker riders and did a lot of video parts and trade show videos, which is a lot of my footage that was captured in the 80s was done by that guy.
That's awesome.
Really?
The center shot is Treaty Park in St. Augustine. That's like my second home away from home park.
That's a pretty fun park.
I love that park.
A lot of space.
Yeah, that thing's fun. It's great for us older guys.
It's great.
I dig it.
It's a fun park.
It's like a big spread out pump track.
Mm-hmm. That bottom left shot is I think that's at that Pensacola Big Bash competition. That's Bruce Walker obviously in the center, and on the far left is Tate Clare, who was another.
Oh wow! I was going to ask you who that was. That's Tate, huh?
That's a few cheeseburgers ago. Tate's
a big boy now.
Tate was at the what? Where? He was out at the frickin' Hall of Fame in Huntington. That last one, the one where you were at, Mark.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I would have.
Yeah, Tate was out there. He went there to support Monty.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I gave him a freaking ride. I'm like, no way. He's like, dude, it's been years. So wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Tom Walker. Tate was a Walker Street skater. He was really good. And then the bottom, that's Pat Clark.
Yeah.
And that picture is taken in Ocean City, Maryland at the ESA East Coast Championships. So
yeah, wasn't that like a bowl or something? It was asphalt. They had an asphalt bowl, and
yeah, there was a vert ramp, there was some asphalt bowl area, and then there was this basketball court, big basketball court area, which is where they set up all the obstacles, and that's where the street competition was. So I was skating the street contest, the East Coast Championships at the street contest, and Pat came to hang out with me for the weekend. He wasn't competing, but.
So what's the picture with you and Chuck in the top or near the top left? Was that at the St. Pete?
Yes, at the Hall of Fame induction.
St. Pete NSA qualifiers, 1988.
Oh, I thought that looked like the Hall of Fame ceremony thing or something.
Oh, that's the one
next to it. Yeah.
Yeah, the one where I'm holding something in my hand. That's right. That's the Hall of Fame in St. Pete this year.
Right. What did you think of that event?
It was great. It was really neat. It was super hot, but it was fun. It was great.
I've seen a lot of skaters I hadn't seen for a while. It was cool.
It was so neat to get everybody together.
It was. It's always overwhelming, and the more I learn about the skaters, and the more I learn about the history of our sport and just our state, I go, this is pretty cool. It is, it is really cool to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And we've got more pictures of the Hall of Fame coming up. These inverts, I mean, was that what you call that?
Yep, that's an invert. That's a front side sad plant, but it's a street plant, obviously.
Street plant. Come on now, Ed.
I'm sorry. I remember thinking about doing one and thinking I can't ever do that. And these guys are standing there for 10 seconds or.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad. That is sweet.
Yeah, that's about as twisted as it gets.
The way I would do those is I would actually roll into them and never take my back foot off the board. So I would dive down on my front hand, on my left hand, and do a boneless with the front foot and bounce off the ground, but never take the foot off the back and just twist up into it and then fall back, rolling backwards.
Yeah, it's a sick shot.
So on your way up, you put the front foot back on.
Correct. Yeah.
That is so gnarly. I mean, I that's incredible.
I'm always grabbing. I can never do it on a flat ground. I would have to grab a parking curb, or I'm grabbing the edge of a curb there. I would always have to wrap my hand around a curb. I'll never do it on a flat.
Did you have handicap stickers on your board so you could do it at a handicap spot?
Yeah.
Minimum fine of $250. Here we go. Oh, that's
So,
great.
I just wanted to put some of this up. Can you tell me about Mark? Can you tell me about the nightmare that is the one that doesn't have Bruce's picture on it?
Yeah, the one on the right. Yeah, that board. I redesigned the Nightmare because I went through a phase where I rode some popsicle boards, and then I wanted to go back to a shape. So what I did was I was riding at 8.5. So I ended up making that an 8 3/4 wide, where the old Nightmare was 10, and then a lot longer nose. The old Nightmare had a small nose, like 2.5, 3 inches. This has a 6 3/4 nose, 6 3/4 tail, and just narrowed it down. And the way the graphic came about, had a girl take her picture of me. That's my face. Took a picture of me laying in bed, grabbing the blankets and screaming. And I gave it to, it was Dave. Who's the artist that did that? He worked for you, right?
Yeah, Mike Tavares.
Yeah, we gave him the photo, and I told him I wanted to be laying in bed having a nightmare that I was getting ready to slam in a big vert ramp. And that's what he came up with, which
That's great.
was really cool. And I love that board. I ride that board. I ride it in bowls. I mean, I ride it everywhere now.
The original artwork on the original Nightmare was done by Bruce's brother, Stephen Walker.
Stephen, yeah.
And then when we did the new Nightmare, obviously the shape is a tribute to the original shape, but Mark made it, modernized.
It's just modernized, yeah.
Used the same font from Nightmare, and then kind of did a takeoff.
It's awesome. I mean, it's relative. And now that you explain it, I kind of understand. I didn't know what the green thing was. And that's the ramp.
Yeah, that's the ramp. Yep.
And you are falling.
I am fucking getting ready to slam.
Slow motion.
Kind of reminds me of my most major injuries have been my shoulders. I've had surgery on both shoulders twice.
What hasn't broken?
Yeah. Well, no, that's my shoulders, and my ankle is my only broken bone. And then my shoulders, 1996, I tore my right rotator cuff at Little Concrete Park in Boca. And I was out a whole year with that. That was like heavy duty rehab and stuff. A year later, I went back to the same skate park. First day skating 20 minutes. I did a layback slide and felt something pop in my shoulder. And I did my left one. The first 20 minutes of skating, back in for surgery. And that one, because I learned the rehab on the first one, I was actually back skating in 10 months. And then I think it was 84. I was skating Hollywood, did a hip hop invert, and slid out on the way in and went all the way to the bottom and hit on my shoulder. And I detached the rotator cuff. And they reattached it. And then I think 87, I was riding a little mini ramp in my shop, and I went to do a rock to fakie, and the front wheel caught for a second, so it stopped. And then it just released and slingshotted out from under me. And I just went right down and slammed, and then detached my rotator cuff on the other shoulder. So I've had 2 detachments and 2 bad tears.
I want to talk to all the parents out there. Now, don't pay any attention to anything Mark's talking about.
I have no pain whatsoever in either shoulder. And when I did that first one, I bought one of those rollout wheels with the 2 handles with the little wheel in the middle. And rolling out and doing those, that was, from the first one in 1996. And I've never stopped doing them. I do them today. I do 20 every morning when I get up before I go to work, and I do 20 when I get home. It's an everyday thing.
Wow.
And my shoulders, I mean, like I said, I can still do, tuck knee inverts, and it's no pain, and
Very cool.
Real lucky.
Well, you are. Let's go through. This is Mark's induction video.
Cool.
It's how they used to do them back in the old days. I don't know if we can.
Gotta narrate this thing.
So, Mark, is that your signature?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, ever since the flight board.
But the
wheels.
there it is.
That's the Sun Tree ramp, which, man, raw plywood. When I look at it and the amount of speed
Look at that.
in these videos, I'm like, I have no idea where all that speed is coming from because that's just raw plywood ramps. It's not skate light, you know.
Damn.
That was like
Nice.
an ollie-oop backflip
Look at that. Backflip into fake hang up.
in the airs. That was a prototype nightmare. See that?
Yeah.
That's just beautiful.
Oh, and there's a cool story on this How to Rock and Roll back there. That one, the How to Rock and Roll was in Skate International. And I went out to that Big O Henry Hester Pro Contest. And that was the first rock and roll I think anybody had seen. It was Tim Martin went up and rocked on his board and rocked in. And we were all like, holy shit, that dude just rocked on his board. And I was staying in Rhode Island at the time of flight. When I flew back from California, I got back and I told Steve and Dave, I said, man, there's this trick this dude did called the rock and roll. And they had a local pool. And I said, I'm going to learn them today. And they sent a photographer there with me. And I learned them the first day back from California. And that's where that came from, how to rock and roll.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
We saw Tim Martin in Cali.
Yeah, I told them the story, you know, how that was the first rock and roll I had ever seen, as far as I know, anybody ever seen. I believe he's the first guy to do them.
So yeah, he gets credited for that. So that's interesting because I remember you being, I was at that Big O contest as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I know he was there. That's the first time I've heard you mention it.
Yeah.
Fulmer was there because that was Fulmer frontside roll in. You got the sequence.
And Fulmer was doing frontside airs over the channel too. The
channel
drop in there.
Yeah, he was the man there. But it's like,
Yeah.
I know Lake was there. What the fuck? I'm glad you said that. Now I remember.
Yeah, that was my first pro contesting, first pro contest in California.
Yep.
And I just remember walking up. I took a taxi there and walked up to that bowl, and there's like the one roll in, and there's like 25 skaters circled around it waiting to go.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how the fuck am I going to get a ride in this thing? And you just force your way in there, and you know, it was cool.
I was traveling with Fulmer and Kyle Jensen, and all from Gullwing. And
Right.
we drove up there, so I actually had a ride. We were all staying like 4 or 5 to a hotel room. But I remember talking with you about that because we were talking about the wheeler contest.
Yeah.
Like, hey, George, I got this way. I'm doing wheelers. I'm doing backside wheelers, but I'm putting my hand on the wall and I'm getting around faster. I'm like, okay. And I remember that conversation. I'm like, I know he was at that. And now I'm glad to hear that you were.
Wow, that's rad.
We can't go back and like look at contest results and stuff because they didn't.
Yeah.
You know,
Another skater that I was super impressed by that I never forgot about was Kevin Reed.
Yeah, he's
Skating for
shredded.
Holt Skateboards.
Did you
And
see?
he was doing the front side like a layback air, kind of like tail tap. And
Yep.
then he was also doing inverted backside. And I took them home and learned those also, both of them.
Did you see Kevin Reed at the Hall of Fame event where you were at?
Yeah, I actually did. Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to talk to him, but I did see him.
I spent about an hour talking with him. We got to some event. We got out to the show event early, and we were just like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we talked. We had a bunch of shared because he was at Whittier, and we had skated together at the Whittier contest. And
Right.
then the darkness kind of took over. That guy led a rough life.
Did he? Yeah. He looked pretty old.
Yeah, but
He had some
just
age on him.
fantastic. Again, seeing him, just always super stylish and coming up with tricks. You're like,
He was one of my favorite skaters at that event. Him and then Tim Martin, and I think George Orton was doing big frontside airs.
Yep.
Remember him?
Fulmer doing the frickin'
And
channel.
Fulmer was killing it. Fulmer skated really good.
Channel jump and frontside roll in. I mean, that's
all of it
Yeah.
color coordinated. He was Florida's
Yeah.
Brad Bowman.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, Fulmer always everything perfect. New Sims gloves, red, white, and blue Sims. Everything brand new. You can tell the sponsored guys from the non-sponsored guys.
You had to wear new Sims gloves because you destroyed them every fucking session. That's why there's none of them around. Try to find Sims gloves. Everybody had them, and they would last a session and a half. Those things sucked.
So
But they look cool.
yeah, they did look cool. So this is they got Will here at the AM.
Yeah, this was a Grind for Life contest. The poster's still up there from the Tampa Am 2011, so it must have been a 2011 Grind for Life series. I did the Grind for Life series for, I don't know, 2005 through 2018. Basically, did almost the whole series every year, and that was at the skate park at Tampa. So yeah,
Are you still working with MR on that?
Kamar is right.
No. Are you still working on the board of directors?
Oh,
for
oh
GFL?
yeah, for Grind for Life, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome work, bro. Hats off.
Yeah.
That's
That's Mike does great work, and we do whatever we can to support him. We have board of director meetings every couple months. Zoom meetings. Andy McDonald's on there, and Lloyd, and a bunch of people, and we do whatever we can do to help to raise money and keep it going. Such a good cause.
That's awesome. Lloyd Gillick, shout out.
Yeah.
Go Gators. So is that Donnie Meyer in there with you? Who else is in this?
Oh, that's on the far right is Todd. I'm trying to remember his last name. I think he passed away. I think we lost him. And the next guy over from the right is Mark. What's his name again? He worked for he's from Puerto Rico.
Trying to see his face. He was from Puerto Rico?
Yeah, and he worked for one of the distributors, but he's a really good skateboarder. And then obviously we have drawing a mental blank. Who's in the middle? Our friend. Great surfer.
The guy in the black shirt?
Hold on, let me move my thing so I can see what it is.
Yes.
In the black shirt. Come on.
It looks a little bit like Steve Bernack.
No.
Not Steve.
He's a great surfer. He lives in Palm Beach. He's a great skateboarder, and his name is
it's Tab.
Tab Texter.
Oh man, we're going to Florida skateboard hell for this.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
Don't recognize him without a sim shirt on.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
Tab.
Yeah.
Right. The two pictures in the bottom right, that's our local bowl where Mark and I skate weekly. That's Ramp 48.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Very fortunate. We have an indoor air-conditioned skate park in Fort Lauderdale.
You kids are spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rain or shine,
20-minute drive, and I got an indoor vert ramp to skate. That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Is
And the bowl
Fight
is
Club
great, too.
closed? Is Fight Club thing closed, or is that still open?
It's there, but
It's there, but it's not being sessioned regularly. There are no regular.
Yeah. I haven't skated it probably for 5 years at least or longer.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I actually skated that bowl and lived. That was pretty.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It was a fun session. So is this you, Dave, with the it's the same session. The one between Mark with the Ghost and you at Treaty. It's like a front side layback here.
Yeah, the layback. Yeah, that's a layback at the same bowl at Ramp 48.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then the center one is just a boosted boneless on a bank in Miami.
Well, I mean, it's really a logical evolution is air conditioned. I mean, it's Miami. It rains. It's hurricanes. I mean, when you come in, do you give extra money? Say, turn the air conditioner on for 10 minutes. I'll give you $50. You know,
it's amazing, guys. It'll be pouring rain. It'll be 90 degrees. You walk in there and it's just cold. And you skate and you're like, oh, I sweated a little bit.
Yeah, and it's great because like skated Gilfooses for like 10 years and driving, an hour, 15-minute drive up there. Drive all the way up there and you pull in the driveway, you get your board out. By the time you walk to the backyard, it starts fucking raining. And you're like, fuck, and I can't tell you how many times that happened, and now it's like driving to Ramp 48, you're skating no matter what.
Yeah, you're going to skate when you get there. And it's a good scene. And they're
It really is.
Looks awesome. Gillifoots is boosting air though in that humidity all by himself.
Still doing 540s and he skates by himself.
Yeah. His wife's out there taking pictures. He's doing 6-foot airs out. I'm like,
yep. Yeah.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
I'm glad that he's sticking with it and still doing it, man.
Let's
That's
see. Let's see
dedication.
this. Let's see this guy.
Yeah.
I love this. The creativity is amazing.
That's Ram 48. That's yeah, I like doing different stuff. You know, creativity is what turns me on. So
Pat Love used to do something like that, but he'd roll the other way in. He called it a hospital.
yeah, I call this a hospital also. So maybe it's just a variation of it.
Yeah, it's a okay.
That's
Yeah.
the name, yeah, that's the name of the file. Hospital. And I was like, okay, fine. So there's a story. So it's a hospital.
Mhm.
It's a hospital because if you don't land it right, you end up in the hospital. That was Pat's. That's the way he named it.
That's a good one. I do them on vert. I do them on mini ramps. I like it. It's a contest. It's kind of a goofy, you know, a goof trick. Like, but it's in a contest. It's a good way to finish the run. People are like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know,
Throw that one out at the end as your ender.
Waving at the judges. So I like watching Mark stare at the screen. What are these pictures? What
Yeah, I'm
what are
looking
these
at
guys
that.
doing?
I'm digging all the team pictures, but then the hip hop invert that the board over my head, that was a Rumble in Ramona, and I hadn't done a hip hop in over 10 years when I went there, and it was a 4-foot channel, a bigger channel, and it took me 4 or 5 tries, and I started making some hip hops. Obviously, that was a miss.
So is this before the
But
Kevlar
you
laces?
see the concentration. I'm not taking my eye off the corner of that pipe right there because I've landed right into that one time in my chest and thought it was going to kill me. So yeah, lesson learned. Don't take your eye. If you lose your board, still spot where you're going.
I like the shoestrings. I like the handy wrap, or what do you got going on the shoestring?
I believe it's duct tape.
Duct tape.
Yeah.
So if you
Can't live without duct tape.
you got to wear the creature shirt. So I like that.
Yeah. Darren gave that to me. So yep.
Very cool.
Do I see Dan Thornton down here? Is that from Jacksonville? The white Thrasher shirt?
Lower right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Tim Camella. He's a buddy of mine from the 70s. I skated a ton with.
Oh, okay.
He's a great guy. Yeah, we skated a lot. And he just shows up at our skate events, which is really cool. He's kept in touch with me to this day. We've been friends for, God, I don't know, at least close to 50 years.
There's a Dan Brown sighting there. Dan Brown is always rocking. He's always rocking the late gear.
Yeah. He's holding his new board. His new board is sick.
That picture, the bottom center picture with Dan in it, that was in St. Pete, and we did a board announcement or board reveal for both Dan and Mark Bunsey. So they're both holding their models.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So that's veteran bro models. So
yeah, the veteran bro models.
Yeah, Bunsey's graphic is it was from an album cover of one of his favorite bands. We got their permission to use the graphic.
Yeah, Underdog
out of New York. New York.
Yeah, you know they're coming to Florida, Dave. They sent me a message on Facebook. I forget what date.
Oh, we got to check it out. We got to be there.
It's up in northern Florida, but they sent it, and I think it's in September, maybe.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Dan's board. That graphic was done by a friend of
Jay
ours, Jay Hunt, who did that. That's a picture of him doing a sweeper. You can't really see it.
It's a sweeper at Cedar Crest.
Sorry.
That's where it was done from a picture from
We surprised those guys with those boards there in St. Pete. We grabbed the microphones and everybody, and they were stoked.
Yeah, they didn't know we had their boards with us.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's the way to make it.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Rippers. Who are the young Rippers? Who's coming up?
We got a great team. I guess probably the most complete would be the top right picture, right, Mark?
Top right.
Yeah, if we take it from the top right.
You looking at Evan and Garrett up in the tree? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's it. So the guy in the tree, that's Garrett Ayoub, Ayoub. He is like an all-terrain ripper. The kid is he skates transition amazing. He'll jump on a vert ramp.
Yeah, ridiculous transition. He'll do a roll in on 4 foot of vert with like a 2-foot tranny.
And he rides an old school shape. He rides like a fish shaped. It looks like an old Jeff Kendall board.
An old 9.5 inch wide piggy board.
we did the shape just for him, and has a Lake Liberty graphic on it. And he's amazing. That's Garrett. And then on the far right is
Tyler, right?
Meek first, right?
Tyler Kaufman is all the way on the right, far right.
Which picture?
Then Meek, I think.
Oh, it depends on which picture you're looking at. Okay.
Oh, I'm looking at the middle one at the top.
I'm on the one with the tree.
Oh, all right. I'll let you call it.
No, go through it. You want to
Yeah,
go through
no,
it?
it's okay. Yeah. Tyler, Meek, and then
Yep.
Nick Day,
Nick Day out of from St. Augustine.
and then Jake down in the left-hand picture. Jake's a shredder.
Yeah.
Jake, which one are we talking about?
Jake is, if you look at the bottom left picture, Jake has dreadlocks. He's in a white T-shirt with a white hat. Black kid, right there. He rips. He rips.
And he's out of Naples or Fort Myers, you said?
He's in South
He's
Florida.
actually out west now, right, Dave?
He's temporarily working out west, but he's based in Florida. He'll come back to Florida. And then the guy to his left in the green shirt is Nick Day. He's from St. Augustine, but he's actually relocated to South Florida, and he's working for us at Lake Skateboards. So we have a facility in Deerfield Beach, and Nick is doing sales for us.
Then this bottom right picture where you asked about the guy in the white Thrasher shirt is Tim Camella. To the right of him is Mark Wilson. And all the way on the left is Lonnie Ryder. And the three of us, we were inseparable for, 10 years. We skated together 3-4 days a week on vert. It was, we have an incredible friendship, the three of us. And Mark just got inducted into the Hall of Fame over there in St. Pete along with Dave.
Well, we're gonna have to get
a whole bunch of people showed up to cheer him on. That was a good group.
Yeah, his whole family and old employees, and it was crazy.
Yeah, that was great.
It was a great time, and we'll have to have another round of the Lake team on in another slew of photos. But you put together, and it's great to see you're giving back and supporting kids. Because I remember I skated for Phil Kiokio and George McClellan. I was on Flow and on Take What I Could Get, and go to the park and sketch together some pads. And so when I see people in new pads and new everything, I always go, that's nice. Now I can concentrate on the skating. So it's great to see you giving back.
Yeah.
We do whatever we can do to help them out.
Yeah. And if you would please send me a list of everybody on the team so we can post it up. That would be good. But the instas, the tags, that'd be awesome.
On the subject of the team, also, we've been filming for the last year and a half a Lake team video, which is getting edited right now. So we're hoping to have that up on Thrasher hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Very nice.
Send us a link. That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
because it's going to be a month before this goes out.
Okay.
Because I can't, I got no help. I got to do all this myself.
Shut up.
So this was at Hollywood, otherwise known as the Fight Club. This was
what a crew.
2007.
Look at that.
2008, maybe.
Alan.
Dan Murray and Robbie and Alan, Ed.
And
that's a great shot.
Dan with that LSD board. Those boards were so terrible. Everybody got one. Nobody rode them.
Here, I've got mine. It's right over there on the wall. Nice, and I put green rails on it. Woo! So just a little shout out at the bottom here, because Mark and Dave do have day jobs. Riva Motorsports Racing, any sort of watercraft. If you want to get the goods, you need to go there. It's in Deerfield Beach, and it's the shit. So please check them out. Especially if you're looking and you need advice, not just to buy, you want to talk to people who know. These guys have a racing team. And if you need cabinets, of course, Mark Lakes Woodworks Unlimited, and you can see his work right behind him. There's a whole bunch of shelves, and he's got the goods. Plus, he made all those nightmare boards himself by hand.
Yes, every single one of them.
So we got another boneless over here. Where are we this time?
That's Gainesville. I like going over gaps, so that was just high to low again. That's in Gainesville.
Is that the Possum Park there?
I think that's what it's called, Possum Creek or something like
Yeah, right.
I like that little thong shade thing in the background. What is that for? A little blue fabric in the distance.
that. I think that's over the bowl. I think the bowl's back there.
That's ample shade.
That's in the back.
just saying.
That's for when the rain comes in. You get under that and you skate. So.
Yeah. So
The layback slide.
Yeah,
I mean-
Hollywood.
yeah, that was
And them gull-wing magnesiums. Some
Look
bullet
at that.
wheels.
Styly.
Yeah, I love doing them still today.
but what does it say on your left knee? It's
Lake.
what oh, it says lake.
Yeah, Vinton made me some custom pads, or Dave got a hold of them, and between the two of them, Dave showed up one night with the pads and go here, and their lake was printed on them, which is pretty cool.
No
That's
doubt.
awesome.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, you don't have Nikes on. What do you got?
New Balance. He's rocking New Balance. What
New
the hell?
Balance.
I don't even know what those are.
Oh, the sponsors are going to be pissed.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what shoes are those. I
That's,
have no idea.
that's the crazy part about shit. You see
Because I
pictures.
always wear mid tops, and I don't even think those are mid tops. I don't
Yeah,
ever
those
remember
don't
not wearing mid tops. I must have borrowed somebody's shoes that day.
Right.
I probably showed up and didn't put my skate shoes in the car, and
Found them under the ramp.
somebody gave me some shoes. Oh,
So
sick.
yeah, I dig
I think
this.
we saw that before. That's the Daytona.
Yeah, but we just wanted confirmation it was a make. You
That's
know,
the Bermuda Triangle.
yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
That top right picture is like the end of one of my Walker videos. I think that was like the end of. I had like sunscreen on my face. I don't remember something like that.
Well, it's nice to see the wild side. You know,
Yeah.
you got to have that.
Yeah, I had smoked a lot of herb and they put stuff on my face.
I don't.
Yeah, it happens.
There's Thrasher sponsoring our program. What was that
No.
about?
This is the Thrasher feature they did on my
This is short. I'll play it again.
Nice.
So this is the tribute, right? 2018, maybe 16.
18, I think, or something.
Yeah, that was smooth as butter.
Very nice. Very nice.
So Thrasher, if you're out there, we could use a sponsor. Thank you. Let's do it again because it's so cool. So this is how many years after you did it? This is a tribute thing, right? Spotlight.
Right. I did it in '89. It came out in Thrasher January 1990, and then in 2018, I think, or 19, somewhere in there, they ran this video tribute to it.
I just
Hold
think
on.
it's
Magnified. That's Cavallero on the cover.
Yeah.
That's the ad,
Very cool.
and then into the sequel.
I mean, that's a leap of faith, literally, quite literally, right here. I'm going for it.
Yeah, you don't want to miss at that point. Dave probably wouldn't have a kid today.
Right.
You end up with what's called the credit card. Nobody likes it.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So,
Oh, rad.
so this is the only question I have about this. Is that Jimmy Marcus with the camo hat? On the far right, you can't even see his face. Just white shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh, up top up there?
No.
Cut
Not-
off at the lower
Next
right.
to Olson.
Yeah, right next to Olson.
Oh, next to Olson, behind him, I believe, was George Wilson.
Yeah,
Wilson,
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this.
Well, but it has-
Yeah, I can't see with the faces on there. It's
With
blocked
the
out.
ear. Whose ear is that?
It might
Yeah.
be hard to tell.
I like who's cool guy. Cool guy with the
5% of his head.
yeah. Who's
That
the guy
was
in
at
the
one of those big Kona anniversary, 40-year anniversary contest things or something. Like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was good.
and then you have the guy behind with the beard and the the floppy hat. He's
Yeah.
not impressed. Why did he come?
He's a skate police.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe he's a bodyguard for Olson.
Yeah, he was pretty uptight. Looks pretty uptight.
Yeah, it could be. And then you got the crew. You got Reggie. This is
Yeah,
awesome. This
look at
is so
that.
cool.
Reggie's the man.
Yeah, he is.
Which one? Where's Reggie?
He's right next to Bruce Walker.
Move your mouse over. Can you move your mouse onto it? Sir?
No,
Okay. Now I see. I was
you
looking
don't
at the
want me
wrong
to click
picture.
on anything.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I get enough
Really.
trouble.
Do not do that.
Yeah.
This was the night that Mark was inducted into the Hall of Fame in California. It was awesome.
Right.
Yeah, that was a
Really
great
awesome.
night.
That was fantastic. That was a great night. Sean Petty got inducted that night.
Yeah,
Yep.
Monty Nolder.
Monty. We got to meet Bruce's wife.
Yeah.
By the way, is hot. How the fuck? How does that guy feel such ultimate trim everywhere he goes?
And she's super nice also. She's
He
super
does
nice.
all right.
He's in his 70s and he's pulling this freaking just absolutely gorgeous.
Bruce is a stud. We got to spend a lot of time with him that night, and Reggie. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got to meet all his brothers. Didn't know he had, I think he has 4 brothers or something like that. It was crazy.
Right on.
That's awesome to have Hackett and Olson there. I mean, that's cool. That's really cool for them because they're coming to Kona, right? They Olson
they
always
show up for the big Icon events every year. You know,
That-
whenever they have them, every few years.
Steve always says this, and I go peace, and he goes, no, everybody's skating for second. I got Locke on first. They're all skating for second place. So this happened. We got Lloyd. We got everybody. And what a lineup you got on the stage for you, Dave.
Cleveland Skatepark shirt.
I was really, really so happy. It was really cool because just about everybody that got inducted had one person, I think, come up, and Chuck came up and said, "This is going to be a triple threat," or whatever he said. And these guys, between Mike Rogers, who I've known forever, he used to skate my Lambretta contest. We've been friends forever. Mark, obviously, great lifelong friend, and Chuck. And it was just really, really cool. It was a really
one of them days you'll never forget.
I will never forget. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Did Markovich come skate with you down in the Lambretta years?
No, that was a little bit. I think he was a little young at that time, but he didn't. He didn't, to my knowledge.
So I mean, I thought it was touching. I thought it was great. That it's almost like groomsmen to have those guys stand up. And then I had to put Chuck in again because you and Chuck looking at that clown shot is just hilarious. Of you guys I think that was Schmidt built a ramp on a tennis court or something, St. Pete.
And that was probably us looking at it. Us looking. But I was there for the street qualifiers, and but the vert vert qualifiers were going on at the same time. Yeah.
Hey, so is this before you gave the model to Dan? Because he's got a board with wheels on it in this picture with me and Lloyd. Bottom right.
Yeah, that's the board he was riding that day.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what board he was riding.
He was already happy.
Something else. He probably didn't set up that new board that he had.
Well, he would have had this board stashed away and would have been carrying that blank. So this was probably either during or just before the
it was before
the reveal.
Before we actually gave him out. It was after the pool session.
That was that was such a great time. And you go back and I look and I've got my Sensation Basin picture. I got to have it in there. There's George and Phil and Keith and I, and of course Sam Meyer.
Sam Meyer.
Keith Holleen.
Keith
Holleen.
Yeah. He used to come to my shop back in the 80s.
He's still a wonderful skater, and don't fight him with a gun. He's a gun. He's a sharpshooter. So let's look at this. There you go.
That was the intro from one of my Walker video parts.
Look at that young
Awesome.
kid.
Razor tail, gnarly.
Walker. Sliding rock.
Is that at Flagler?
That's in Boca somewhere. And
Okay.
no, flat ground routines and parking garages. Lots of foot plants.
Contest?
Contest, yeah. This is in what is the park called? This is FAU.
Oh,
That one's rad. That's so sick.
That's cool.
a variation of the lake flip.
Never seen
Yeah,
that.
yeah, right. Yeah, one-footed lake flip.
Look at this. Are you kidding me?
That's good.
This is in New York City. Training, push-ups. This is the Brooklyn Banks.
Wow.
Under the Brooklyn Bridge.
540 slider.
Yeah.
Where's Harold Hunter?
Amazing.
Statue in Boca. Something.
Skate sculptures. I love
Yeah,
it.
sure that's not the idea they had.
This is the banks in Miami, the volcano banks, and that's a varial into the bank.
Nice style.
That's the Humba Sass. It's my lucky charm. Another varial.
Wow.
360 varial. Nice.
These are the boards like the exterminators I rode in the period. Goofing around. This is our little park in Boca Raton. This is the modern day stuff.
I really like that fresh squeezed lake board. That's one of my favorites. I was always jealous of Dan when he had one of those. That just reminds me of Florida so much.
This is the Circus Bowl, which is
Oh man, that was a great place.
a great bowl.
Oh,
This is that Thrasher magnified feature.
so again, you start at the bottom on a little rail and build your way up.
Yeah. Bit by bit.
Cool.
That is amazing. Let's
Hey
see.
guys, I got to punch out in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
It's been a wonderful show tonight. You guys
Oh,
just
man.
bringing some history together to hear and just stuff I never knew about, and that's
That
wonderful.
was a lot of fun, man. Appreciate you guys
A lot
having
of
me
fun.
on.
That was our honor, and we're late getting you on, but I'm glad that you came. And
Yeah, George, thanks for stepping in, man. Great to see you.
Always a pleasure. Hey, if you guys think of anyone, you're like, hey, this person would be good for this podcast, give us a shout. Let us know, because
Sure.
we're always looking for people. And sometimes other people need to give a little push to get them onto the show. So it's we haven't had Fulmer on here yet.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like he's not like he's super busy, not running a company or anything. Not like two guys running companies.
Hey.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And we could also do anything if you want to do the launch after that's been launched. Of course, we'll follow on, but the more outlets, more exposure is the better for because we want the kids to have a way, because we know how hard it was to get publicity when you remember when Jim Goodrich came to Florida. I mean, that was like the beginning of the floodgates opening.
Yeah. Yeah. He done a lot for helping put Florida on the map. Some of the first photos in the mags and giving us exposure. And yeah.
I've
He
actually
managed the Gullwing team for a while, because I actually got a letter from him when I was skating for Gullwing, and I still have it. And it's welcome, I'm the new manager for Gullwing, and anything I can do.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Goodrich was the one who introduced the frickin' colors. He said he
Yeah.
almost got fired for that.
Yeah,
Gotta do it.
man.
He goes, we got to do it. He took a bunch and got them powder coated.
Fluorescent green, fluorescent pink, and
Yeah.
fluorescent yellow. I love those still, man.
He sold the crap out of
His
those.
boss was pissed, and then it fucking took off. And it was the best thing.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, Ed, wrapping this thing up. Let's get out of here.
All right, guys.
All
Thank
right.
you for having us, guys. It was awesome.
Hey.
All right, man. I hope to see y'all soon.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We got Mark Lake and Dave Bamdas, and they've been a great addition to the Florida Skateboard Hall of Fame, as well as the California Skateboard Hall of Fame, whatever it is. And I think it's awesome. And I thank you guys for joining us, and welcome. And thank you for watching Skateboarding Bros. You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun